Hi everyone, the Random Home Cook here. Today I will show how I prepare Makloubeh, a delicious Arabic dish, relatively easy but with many steps. First, I make two flavorful stocks, one with lamb and the other with chicken. I posted the recipes and the process in two other videos. The links are in the description. Here I will prepare the vegetables, rice, onion topping, and assembly all these components. But let's begin. The vegetable ingredients are 1 decent size white cauliflower, 2 or 3 carrots, 2 aubergines, and 3 to 5 potatoes depending on size. An onion and some pine nuts are used as flavoring toppings for the rice. Before preparing the vegetables, I normally put the stocks on the hobs and bring them to a boil. The stocks have been sieved and degreased without the meat, which is set aside ready to be used. After this operation, I prepare the vegetables. I start cleaning and chopping all the vegetables. I peel and dice, not too finely, a large onion and mix with salt, pepper and a handful of pine nuts and extra virgin olive oil, and I let it sit aside to macerate until I will need to use it. I remove top and bottom from the aubergine and peel it using a knife, but a potato peeler will do. The aubergines are cut about 1 cm thick. This type of aubergines is fine, but can have some seeds, which is not ideal. In case a slice has excessive seeds, I discard it. I prefer the round, purple ones better because sweeter and with less seeds. But this is what I have available and are just fine. I peel and slice the carrots. The carrots are cut in slices no larger than ½ centimeter. Less is better. This will allow to cook quickly and crisp up a little. After cooking in the broth, they will still be very soft, but not soggy. I peel and slice the potatoes. The potatoes are sliced anything between ½ to 1 centimeter thick. The quantities of vegetables may vary on personal preference, but I like to keep a balance. Finally, I clean, remove the outer leaves and break the cauliflower in chunks. Once all the vegetables are ready, I prepare the oil for frying. I normally use sunflower oil, but olive oil or extra virgin olive oil will do. I prefer sunflower oil because, with respect to other oils, it does not add oily taste, which in my opinion make the dish taste better. At least to me, having tasted also the version in which the vegetables were fried in extra virgin olive oil. The order in which I fry is based on flavor. Or at least, this is how I always done it. I lay some kitchen towel on the tray, ready to layer the vegetables as they come out from the oil. I lay down them in tiers, adding some kitchen towel to separate each layer. I set them aside, and if they are still too oily, I move them on fresh kitchen towel. The aubergine in particular retain quite some oil. I personally think this order not only does not mix flavors, and it is also in the order on how much oil the vegetable absorb. So potatoes first, those add a minimal flavor to the oil and absorb the least. Then carrots, and finally aubergines and cauliflower. The order of these last two does not make much of a difference, but I normally cook aubergines first. The vegetables are not fully cooked, though we also cooked in the pot with the rice. I take out the potatoes from the oil when they show a little color and the skin starts to crisp up. The carrots when they stiffen up and turn yellow-orange. The aubergines once they take some color, and the cauliflower until some yellow-orange color will appear on some of the surface. And I cook mine until it dries up a little. The lamb stock I use here is made from different cuts of meat than the one used in the posted recipe. But some of the pictures of the final result are made with both stocks, taken into different occasions. Once finished with the vegetables, the stocks should be boiling for a while now. Hot stock is needed to soften and flavor the rice. Why do I use two stocks, may you ask? Sure, I can do with just one, but I find lamb stock too strong and the chicken stock not strong enough for this dish. So only at this point I mix the stocks, normally 50-50. I tend, however, to make more chicken stock, so normally the percentage is skewed towards the chicken stock. I weigh the rice depending on the amount of the ingredients and the pot size. In this case, I decided to use two mid-sized pots. Even using just a little of each ingredient, this dish makes a lot. Ideal for a meal with a lot of people. In this case, I use no less than 600 to 800 grams of basmati rice. Long grain would work even better. I tend to avoid arborio. It works just fine, but I need to be careful on the amounts because it increases far more in volume. I wash the rice carefully a few times, 3 or 4, draining it carefully. Once the water runs mostly clear, I put it in a large bowl with a generous tablespoon of ground turmeric, and I start adding some hot stock. Mixed or mixing while I do this, taking one scoop from one stock and one from the other, until the rice is fully submerged about 2 or 3 centimeters. I check the seasoning of the stock, and normally I need to add another generous amount of salt to account for the rice. I mix all well and I let it rest for a little. 10-15 minutes should do. It is now time to start assembling the pots. I take a little rice, just 1 or 2 leveled tablespoons, and I put on the bottom of each pot. Cooking Makloubeh is tricky and easy to burn a little, so this layer will burn first, saving the meat. I will talk about this later. Then I add the meat, some lamb, some chicken, and of course this recipe will work as well with beef stock and beef meat, or only one meat, or all 3. Really is up to what is available, but I find lamb and chicken to work best for me. I add the vegetables in layer, cauliflower, aubergines, carrots and potatoes, and I put a little bit of seasoning, salt and pepper, because these are the only ingredients left without seasoning. This dish needs to be salty, but of course not excessively so. It took me a few attempts to reach a good level. Of course, I started with a lower salt content and I increased till satisfied after a few attempts. After all, one can always add some salt to the finished product, although it's not the same, then being able to remove it if it is too much. when I finish all the ingredients, I start to add the rice, but not all of it. I sprinkle on top of the rice the onion and pine nuts mixed, previously set aside to macerate. And then I finish with the rest of rice. I have 2 pots, so I try to distribute the ingredients evenly. Once done, I start to take the stock from the pot that contained the rice and I add it slowly with a big scoop to the pots, trying to keep the rice on the top until the stock is at or just above the rice level. If I finish the stock in the rice bowl, I start using the one left in the stock pots. If some stock is left, I normally freeze it to be used in other preparations. Now it is just a matter of cooking the Makloubeh, letting all the liquid to be absorbed or evaporate without burning the Makloubeh. This is easier said than done. It is particularly difficult to know when enough water is gone. I normally use a spoon to move the rice from the edge of the pot, and if there is some bubbles, I cannot see water, and I can smell some toasting rice, then it is done. Sometimes it might go a little further, and I can smell a little bit of burning rice. It is not ideal, but fine. After all, that is the reason to place the rice at the bottom. In doubt, however, it is fine to have a little water, but not too much. This time around, the result is the latter. After flipping the Makloubeh, I saw some little stock left. It is not a problem, but I prefer mine a little drier, just a little. 2 more minutes would have done the trick. The Makloubeh is taken out from the pot by flipping it on a tray. There are many videos showing the process, not easy to do, and needs to be done very carefully because even letting the Makloubeh resting for a while, which is really good to intensify the flavors, it is still very hot and dangerous if the rice, the stock or the meat goes out of control. I like to accompany this dish with plain natural yogurt, which is my favorite topping, but sometimes I also serve it with tomato, parsley and tahini sauce. It also maintains very well either in the fridge for a day or so and frozen. If you like this video and you would like to see more, please consider clicking subscribe and the bell icon to be notified of new videos. See you next time.